What's up, DC Nation? Back to another video on Mark Waid's Flash run. Now guys, this run has been really good so far. We actually went over issue number 62 and 63 in the last video, and actually I'll link that in the description. You guys can check that out. So check that one out first and then come to this one. The whole storyline we're going over is Born to Run, the opening story arc in Mark Waid's 1987 Flash run, guys. And this whole storyline is pretty much a rebooted origin story of Wally West from pretty much after Christ's son Ethan Earths. And it's been pretty good so far. We saw Wally become Kid Flash, he's with Barry, and now we're pretty much transitioning into Kid Flash going against Mirror Master in part 3 of this awesome storyline. One of my favorite storylines of Flash of all time, guys. I really like this one. I've been enjoying explaining to you guys. But diving into issue number 64, what we see is Flash is actually trying to teach Wally how to phase through walls, right? And Wally's kind of struggling. He's not doing a great job at this. And Wally's like, explain to me again. And Barry pretty much says, we'll just call him Barry, guys, because we know Barry and Flash are the same person. But Barry says that we vibrate our molecules, we can actually go through anything like bullets, walls, people. And Barry's showing this, and he gets Wally, he goes right behind him. He's like, alright, I'll help you out, I'll get you vibrating, and then I'll go, and it's all up to you, right? So Barry's like, let's go. So he runs off, goes to the other side of the wall, and that's what Wally tries to go through. He tries to run through, but as he's doing this, he's kind of struggling, right? He's like thinking, he's very nervous. He's like, I feel like maybe I'll stop halfway. He's like, it feels like I'm having like a jackhammer right behind me trying to pull it. It's a lot of force that he has to do. He has to really concentrate. And that's what Barry told him. He's like, if you concentrate really well, then you'll be able to phase through. Now, Wally gets through, he's all happy, but turns out he just like pretty much blew up well, he didn't blow up the wall, but he broke the wall, right? In like a hole. And Barry's like, oh, it's fine. Wally's like, I'll never get the hang of this. And Barry's like, sure you will. I taught you not to steal policemen's hats at super speed. I can teach you anything. And then he continues, he's like, you're improving anyway. Last time you made the wall blow up. He's like, don't get discouraged. The vibrating trick is tough. The secret is keeping control. And that's when Wally's like, oh, is this a control speech again? And Barry's like, I'm serious, Wally. When you're moving at super speed, you're seeing the world in a way normal people never will. It's easy to have your concentration broken. It's like, keep your focus. If you can do that, you can do anything. And guys, Barry's actually right about this. If he just keeps his focus, he can become unstoppable. And eventually in comics, Wally does actually master that, obviously. And he gets very powerful, and actually Wally comes faster than Barry. And we actually found that out in like future storylines, and I just like how this interaction right here. A lot of people overlook this moment because like Barry's explained that you just need concentration. He's explained how Wally can use the speed the right way. It's actually a big moment to Wally's origin story. But guys, as we continue, what we see next is we see them keep running, they're running through, and that's when Wally tells Barry, he's like, hey, Aunt Iris and I are meeting for lunch. Can you come too? You like her a lot. She's really cool. Now guys, remember, Wally thinks he's just speaking to the Flash, not Barry. And that's when the Flash is like, we met, and yes, she's terrific. She's also Barry Allen's girlfriend. And that's when Wally's like, yeah, he kind of like has like a sigh, and Barry's like, and what's that supposed to mean? Barry's a nice guy. And that's when Wally's like, well, yeah, nice and boring. Not like you. I know he's your friend and all, but geez, what do you see in him? And that's when, it's like kind of rude, right? You speak to the Flash and you're talking crap about Barry when Flash is actually Barry. They're the same person. But that's when the Flash is like, we have a lot in common. He's like, give him a little more time to grow onto you. Barry Allen may not seem very spontaneous, but take it from me, he's full of surprises. Well, guys, we know he's full of surprises because he still hasn't told Wally his secret identity. Wally still doesn't know that Barry and the Flash are the same person. So it's kind of funny seeing Barry talk to Wally this way, right? Acting like Barry's a whole nother person when he actually isn't. But what we see, guys, is Flash like, he and Iris has something special going. I don't want to complicate it. And he's like, I appreciate the thought, but skip the matchmaking, okay? And that's when Wally's like, dream on. Flash continues like, now go meet your aunts. I'll catch you tomorrow and we'll get to work solving these copycat crimes. And Wally explains that this has actually been like crimes that they've been trying to solve for a while. And this is starting to wear on pretty much the Flash's nerves. Like, Flash is getting kind of like irritated over this, and he wants to solve it. But Wally's like, okay, so he runs back, and you see him pretty much go over how he met the Flash again. He's like, oh, it was one afternoon, Flash and I had fought two identical gangs of crooks. He's like, soon after we started hearing relayed reports from local bankers, each of whom had been temporarily abducted by an unknown party. In their absence, each was briefly replaced with believe it or not, an identical twin. And it continues, it says, operating undetected, these counterfeit counterparts infiltrate entire computer systems. They maneuver millions of dollars into secret accounts. And you see that these are pretty much just copycat people. And what Wally finds out, he starts piecing things together, right? By trying to go through these reports. He goes to meet with Iris. He's like, Wally's like, hi Iris, ready for lunch? Pretty much Wally and Iris are going to have lunch. But Iris is like, wow, it's already 1? Well, it's gonna take a while, so go take a seat and keep me company. And that's when Wally's like, Iris, I was wondering. And that's when Iris says, why you had to go back to Blue Valley. So Wally's like pretty much trying to stay with Iris. He doesn't want to go back to his parents. That's when Iris is like, we've gone over this before, sweetheart. We've had one awesome summer, but you need to be back with your folks. And Wally's like, but, and Iris is like, but what? And Wally's like, I don't love them as much as I love you. And Iris is like, yes you do, you just don't realize it. Iris continues and she's like, trust me in this, Wally, there's no place like home. And Wally's like, yeah, sure, my home is like a prison. And then we see Iris says, let's talk about something else. And Wally's like, okay, you working on another story about the copycat crimes? And Iris is like, I wish. No, this one's on Eldon Garrett. Recognize the name? And Wally's like, I did a school report on him. He's like a psychist. And that's when Iris is like, he's in town this afternoon to study some of the old and rare science books the main library has acquired. And that's what Wally's like, sounds like a snooze fest. And I was like, that's what I said. But an assignment is an assignment. And that's when Wally's like, is this Garrett's picture? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, it's all goofed up. And she's like, what do you mean by goofed up? And Wally's like, here, I read for my report where he's blind in his left eye, but not this. In this one, he's blind on his right eye. And I was like, how weird. Maybe the photo lab accidentally flopped the picture. And Wally's like, flopped it? And she's like, yeah, it's a photographer's term. It means they printed it backwards, turned it into a mirror image. And that's when Wally starts to piece together everything. And that's when Wally's like, that's strange though. The word library isn't backwards. And Wally starts piecing together, and what he finds out is that these are just mirror versions, right? Pretty much that. And he's like, whoever was behind the copycat crimes wasn't great twin counterparts. He was creating mirror images. And if we know as Flash fans, that is Mirror Master. The only supervillain that can do that is Mirror Master. And Wally figures this out. And Iris is like, hey, this is gonna take a while for me to figure out like what I'm doing, like writing this assignment. She's like, hey, can you go out? You can go outside, run around Central City. And Wally's like, yeah, I'll go do that. But as Wally goes down and starts running, he's like, I gotta find Mirror Master. He pieced this together. He's like, but Barry, or the Flash, doesn't know about this yet. So Wally's like, I gotta figure out where the Flash is. But he's like, I still don't know his secret identity. So what he does is he calls Barry and he speaks, and he actually thinks it's Barry at first. It's like, wait, is this the Flash? And Barry's like, no, this is actually just Barry. And Wally's like, oh, I thought it was the Flash because you guys sound similar. Which we know, Barry and the Flash are the same person. Now we continue, and Wally's like, alright, I'm gonna go take down Mirror Master. And that's when Flash goes off too. But they don't meet up at the same time. Wally actually goes off on his own. And the reason he went off on his own, he's like, if my hunch was correct, I had to get a move on. So pretty much that he couldn't wait for the Flash. The Flash will catch up to him, but he can't wait and let Mirror Master get away. And what we see is that I got to the library just in the nick of time. Eldon Garrett was, as I suspected, another of the Mirror Master's imposters. And we see Eldon Garrett just stealing stuff from this library, and this person, like his librarian's like, somebody stop him, those volumes are worth a fortune. And we see Eldon Garrett get in the car and starts driving away, and Wally's like, but then I got another idea. Unlike the pseudo-bankers who had done their dirty work via computer, this imposter was actually carrying stolen goods. So he's stealing something. He's like, he was taking them to his boss. And that's when we see the car start to drive away, and Wally's like, and if I shadowed him, he'd take me there too. He's like, I was torn. The Flash might arrive at any second. I could wait for him, but I'd lose the car. He's like, yet if I left, Flash wouldn't know to follow me. I'd have no way of marking my trail. And Wally's like, unless, and that's when we see him steal a police officer's hat. Which pretty much if Barry found that, if he found like a police officer's hat was stolen, then that would mark the trail that Wally was going that way, right? But we continue, we see Wally, he starts going down the street. He's like, the robbery had happened so fast, the cops have been unable to catch up. He's like, by the time Garrett had gotten this far out, he evaded all pursuit. He's like, all police pursuit. And then in a wink, he disappeared, car and all. So this Mirror Master, or like this pretty much imposter, just disappeared. But Wally figured it out. It pretty much all around this road was mirrors. So that was the way that he got away, right? But Wally went through this mirror, made it inside, and he's like, I decided to go inside. Maybe I should have waited for Flash to join me. So Wally's a little nervous. He's like, I made it inside, I could take down Mirror Master, but I don't have the Flash on my side. But we see Flash, he starts running and looking for Wally, and he sees the police officer is talking, and he's like, hey Frank, where's your hat? So Flash's like, oh, okay, I know where Wally's at. But that's when we see Wally's inside the hideout Mirror Master. He looks and he explains in like a caption. He's like, further in, I saw the main man himself, Mirror Master. He's like, I wasn't sure what to do. For the first time since I become Kid Flash, I was really scared. The Mirror Master was no pity thief. He was no bad thief. Like, Mirror Master is actually a really good foe. And we continue, guys, and what we see is that Wally's like, he was seriously dangerous. The thing he could do with ordinary mirrors, redefine the word impossible. He's like, still, I thought I'd be safe until Flash showed up. But that's when we see this mirror fall on Wally West, and Wally gets stuck inside this mirror. So guys, Wally has no way to get out now, right? And we continue, and what we see is that Mirror Master then quotes this one quote from Through the Looking Glass. He starts laughing. He's like, I'm surprised. I thought Flash would be the first one to find me, not Kid Flash. And he says, still, with you here, he can't be far behind, can he? I'd hoped to lure him here myself, but now you've done that for me. And Wally just starts yelling, starts trying to hit through the mirror, and he can't phase through. He's like, I pounded and pounded on the glass, but I couldn't break free. I was being held captive in some sort of bizarre mirror dimension. And guys, this is pretty much like the Mirrorverse. And guys, the Flash TV show actually kind of adapted the Mirrorverse. Went more deep into in the whole Mirrorverse storyline in season 6, but I feel like this right here is more a simple approach. I actually really like it. That's just black behind there, and Wally's stuck there. He has to be stuck there forever unless he phases through. But as we continue, we see Wally. He's like, all I could do was watch helplessly as the Mirror Master laid a death trap for the Flash. And we see Mirror Master put like a mirror in front of him, so when Flash shows up, he'll try to attack it, but it'll actually shock the Flash and kill him, right? And Mirror Master's like, thank you, Kid Flash, you actually helped me make this death trap for the Flash and kill him. And we see Barry show up, he runs to take down the Mirror Master, but he gets shocked and killed, right? He gets shocked and killed, and that's when Wally sees this. And Mirror Master is like a climax capture for posterity, and a little magic mirror. Beautiful. So Mirror Master feels very good about himself. He just defeated the Flash. And we continue, and Wally's like, no. He's all shocked. He's like, no. He's like, he continues. He's like, I was devastated. He was dead. It was my fault. I led him right into Mirror Master's trap. He's like, I killed the Flash. He was gone, and there was only one thing left for me to do. So he focuses on revenge and defeating Mirror Master, and we see Wally jump out of the thing and just starting to beat the living heck out of Mirror Master. He just starts punching him non-stop, guys. He goes back and forth, right? And we see Mirror Master get punched a bunch. Mirror Master wasn't ready for this, and eventually Wally just goes to town, right? Because he's so mad. But that's when Barry gets out, the Flash, and he's actually alive. Whoa, whoa. And Wally's like, Flash, you're alive, but how? And that's when Barry's like, well, a good magician never reveals his secrets, but you all tell. I did it with mirrors. So pretty much Flash used the same thing that Mirror Master is going to do to him on Mirror Master. So he flipped the coin, right? But we continue, and Barry's like, I got here right after you, just in time to overhear the Mirror Master's long-winded speech, right? I had to get you free, but I knew his guard wouldn't be down until he sprung his trap. By studying the imaging device at super speed, I learned how to send a mirror flash in ahead of me. He's like, what I didn't figure was that you would free yourself. Good work. So Barry's actually pretty proud of Wally. They start running, and as they run, he's really proud of this. Wally's like, I'm finally doing good. I have a lot of super speed. I'm doing a great job. But what we see, guys, is Wally starts having pain. He just falls to the ground. And Barry's like, Wally, are you okay? And Wally's like, no. That's when Barry takes Wally to a doctor. And the doctor who takes him to is Ira West, the grandfather of Wally. Now, Ira West starts looking into this. He starts talking to the Flash. He's like, okay, so a 10-year-old got struck by lightning the same way as you. That's a little coincidental. And what's funny about the scene, guys, is that Wally still has his mask on, even though he has his shirt off. I found that really funny. It's like, come on, you're trying way too hard to keep your secret identity, right? But we see Ira West search into this more, and what he concludes with is he tells Barry and Wally that Wally will never be able to run again. That he's pretty much all the speed force is too much for his muscles, and it'll kill him. So Barry tells Wally that, well, I guess your running days are over. If you run ever again, you'll die. And that's how this part 3 of the storyline ends. So it's a big moment that really shocks Wally to his core. He's very shocked by this because he's like, I'm finally having a good summer. I'm having a good life. I'm teaming with the Flash. but now it's going to come to an end. Now, going into issue number 65, what we see is Wally's still having pains, and we see that Wally's struggling. He's really mad about this. He finally got a chance to have speed, have a good life, but it's just taken away from him. And that's when the summer comes to an end. He has to leave. And we see him actually, his last day with the Flash, that's it. And we see him go to meet with Iris for one last time. And we see actually Barry there, and Wally's actually very surprised by this. He's actually very happy that Barry is there. And Wally's at the same time disappointed because he didn't get to know Barry. He didn't spend the time with Barry because he's too busy being with the Flash. Now, as you know, Flash and Barry, same person. So technically, Wally spent his time with both of them over the summer. But as they leave, you see Barry with the Flash ring. Seeing that Barry is still, in a way, tricking Wally, right? Like, Barry should just at least tell Wally his secret identity eventually. But we see Wally and Iris just go off, they drive, and they're going to Blue Valley, where Wally's parents are. Wally is going back to his parents, and as they're driving, guys, Iris tells Wally that, hey, a storm's coming, we gotta hurry up. And she's like, so, you had a good time this summer? It's like, you don't know the half of it. And Iris is like, boy, I know two people who can't wait to see you. And she's like, I bet your folks really missed having you around. I know I will. And Wally's like, then how come? How come I can't stay with you? And Iris is like, I know it's tough. If it were up to me, we'd be together every day. And she's like, I'm your best friend, but you gotta go back to your parents. And she's like, sometimes you remind me so much of your father. When he was your age, you know, he and Daddy weren't close either. Rudy was so afraid of being hurt. And guys, as you know, Rudolph is Wally's father, and Wally doesn't want to be with his father. He's like, no, I'd rather be with Iris. But this is the same way that Rudolph was with his father. And Iris says to him that Rudolph built walls around his own feelings. And he's saying that he thought that would protect him from Daddy, but all it did was separate them. Probably forever. Don't make that same mistake, Wally. And that's when we see him come upon like the house. He's like, you and your dad have a lot to work out. Maybe this time apart we'll have help. Maybe not. But you have to find out. And Wally's like, why can't I just stay with you? And I was like, because that wouldn't solve anything. You can't run away from your problems. If you do, they'll just get worse. And we see Wally get out. He greets his mother, and Iris says bye because she has to get back, right? Because a tornado is actually coming. Now, we see Wally, and he says to Iris right before she leaves, he's like, will I be okay? And Iris is like, yeah, you'll be okay, kiddo. Just don't forget me, alright? We'll see each other again. And Wally's like, yeah, we will. And I'll make things better with my parents. He's like, I promise. Wally, over the rest of the day, is spending time with his mom, but he's kind of struggling with this, right? Because he doesn't have super speed anymore. He doesn't have Iris. He doesn't have Barry. And he's just looking at everything at slow-mo, but he can't really run. He doesn't have, like, that fast response anymore. And we see Rudolph show up. He's like, hello, Mary. And she's like, well, hello yourself. You're home early. Did you want to see your son? I actually got let out of work very early, but I'm happy to be home. And that's when Wally drops the plate, and Rudolph gets mad. He's like, hey, don't break those. Your mother really likes those. And Wally's like, I'm sorry, okay? Just runs to his room. So Wally's very, like, he's not really being nice to his father, right? He's like, he doesn't really give his father a chance. Now, as we continue, guys, what we see is Wally runs to his room. It's just all going downhill. I can't catch a play. I don't have super speed anymore. This summer is just going really badly. I can't be with Iris. It's like, it wasn't fair. I've been given the gift of a lifetime just to have it snatched away. Which, what he's talking about is the Speed Force. He was as fast as the Flash, but now that's gone. And he says, he's like, and there's no forgetting about it, no way to let go. He's like, everything around me was a reminder. And you see things just cracking, things getting broken because he can't catch it. So he like throws a mug and he can't catch it, so that mug gets broken. What we see is Rudolph is like, son, come out. This weather is turning ugly. We might ought to hole up in the basement for a little while, son. And we see Wally, and he jumps out the window, alright? He jumps out the window, starts running. He's in like the rain. He gets on top of like a tree. You see Rudolph, he starts climbing up this tree to help his son out. And you see Rudolph, he's like, come on home, Wally. This is a dangerous place for you to be right now. And we see Wally, he's like, doesn't matter. And Rudolph's like, it does matter. I don't need you break your leg. I don't want to have to take you to the hospital. And Wally's like, what does that mean? That you don't want me bothering you? Why are you so mean to me? And Rudolph's like, look, we don't have time for this poor, put upon Wally thing. you're my son, and you're coming with me. And Wally's like, you don't care about me. And Rudolph's like, of course I care. I'm out here, aren't I? And that's what Wally says to him, I'm not going. And Rudolph's like, it's not up to discussion. We need to go to safety. And Wally's like, no, I won't live with you. I don't love you. Rudolph's like, what? And that's when you see this tornado hits a tree. The tree falls. Rudolph falls to the ground. And he's just pretty much knocked out. And Wally's like, what? What? He's knocked out. And what we see from here, guys, is that Wally's kind of shocked by this. Now, what I find kind of like messed up here is that Wally says to his father that he doesn't love him. Well, obviously his father does. Rudolph really went into a tornado, into a storm to save Wally when Wally's on a tree. Like, come on. Even, okay, if you're a father, right, you'll do anything for your son, right? But come on, Wally was kind of being a bad son at that moment. You went out into a storm, like, come on. But still, Rudolph fell, the tree fell on him, and we saw Wally, and now he's like, okay, I gotta pretty much take down this tornado. And what he saw on news is that Flash usually runs around the tornado to pretty much take it out. And when in his whole plan, Wally's like, if I get the Flash ring, turn to the Kid Flash, take down this tornado, and save my father, it'll all go well. But Wally's struggling to run. So he tries to run, and he starts talking about the wall, and about hitting the wall. And that long distance runners usually go by this. That when they're running for a long distance, they hit this wall where they either stop, quit, or they keep going, and eventually they hit that second stride. That second stride that leads them to victory. Now, Wally's trying to hit that, right? He's struggling because he can't run anymore, because it pretty much gives him a lot of pain. But while he keeps going, the tornado's coming closer. It's going to kill him and his father. But Wally starts to keep running, and eventually hits that second stride, and he goes super fast. He takes down the tornado, saves his father, and he wakes up his father. He's like, you okay? And that's what his father's like, yeah. Are you good? And Wally's like, well, I think we're all good. We can get back to the house as long as another tornado doesn't come again. And that's when Rudolph is like, well, as they say, lightning never strikes twice. And Wally, as he's reading this, that's what ended his origin story, right? That's what ended it. That he saved his father, his family is kind of like reconciled, so now his relationship with his father is better. Even though he told his father that he doesn't love him, but he saved his father, so I guess it's like even, right? But still, he has a good relationship, and we see present day Wally, who's now the Flash, just like Rudolph said that lightning never strikes twice, but it did. And that's when Ira West, the grandfather, comes in. Wally's like, sugar, no cream, but I gotta get going. And that's when Ira's like, it's been so long since we visited. You'll stay for dinner? And Wally's like, well, no. And that's when Ira's like, it's okay, Wally, I didn't mean to keep you. And Wally's kind of like nervous about it. He's like, I can't just leave him. He's like, can I tell you something honestly, Grandpa? And that's when Ira's like, please. And that's when Wally says, it's hard being here because you remind me of her. And Ira's like, Iris? And that's when Wally's like, yeah. Whenever I see you, I feel like I see Iris because you're her dad. And Wally's thinking, like, I never got to say goodbye to her. And that's when Wally says, she died so suddenly and so pointlessly, slowly buried, but I managed to make some peace with that. When I grew up, I took his costume name to honor his memory. I just wish I had some way to honor hers. Barry may have taught me how to be Kid Flash, but Iris taught me how to be Wally West. So this is a big moment, guys, because yeah, Barry taught Wally how to be the Kid Flash, how to be a hero, but Iris taught Wally how to be just a regular kid, to live life, live a good life. So Iris and Barry both pretty much had important roles in forming Wally as a grown man. As this whole story ends, we see the grandpa say, you keep talking about her as if she's really gone. And Wally's like, and he's like, and she's not. She's in you. He's like, your old granddad has a hard time remembering everything, but I won't ever forget how proud Iris was the day she learned your secret, and after and before. He's like, sometimes you're all she'd talk about. Sometimes you're all I can talk about. And he's like, and now, when I look at you, I see her sparkle. You remind me of her too, Wally, and I'm glad. And that's when Wally's like, sit down, I'll cook you some lasagna, right? We'll stay, we'll hang out together. And that's when Ira West is like, that was her favorite, lasagna. And Wally's like, I know. And Ira West is like, do you have time for this? And Wally's like, I have all the time in the world. Love you, Grandpa. And Ira West is like, love you too. And that's how this whole storyline, Born to Run, the rebooted origin story of Wally West, ends. So it shows, like, this whole storyline just shows Wally becoming Kid Flash, coming to Flash. It shows how, like, his relationship with Iris West and Barry Allen, how it developed. It showed the important relationship between Wally and Ira West, pretty much the grandpa. It's a very great storyline written by Mark Waid, and the art is fantastic too. But yeah, guys, this is a great storyline. I definitely recommend it. I hope you guys enjoyed me explaining it to you guys on this channel. I'll keep doing this storyline, and we'll see what next issue we'll go over on this whole run. It may just be a single issue story with Dr. Alchemy or another villain, or we may just go right into the return of Barry Allen. If you guys know that storyline, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, guys, in the comment section below, tell me what you thought about this whole storyline Born to Run. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What do you think about Wally's origin story? And which character do you think formed Wally as a young man more? Do you think it was Barry Allen, or do you think it was Iris West? I think both of them had a big role on Wally growing up, but which one of them do you think had a bigger role? I think Barry Allen, because come on, he's the Flash, he led Wally on all these big adventures, and he actually helped Wally eventually become the Flash. So I think that's really big. I still think that Iris is a big role too, but I think Barry has a bigger role. But yeah, this is a great storyline, guys. I really enjoyed it, and guys, like the video, be a big thumbs up. You show me express my next Mark Waid Flash run video. I'll be going over the entire run from different stories like the Black Flash, Return of Barry Allen, or other ones, Terminal, Velocity, just a lot of ones like Dead Heat. There's a lot of great stories in this run that I'm excited to explain to you guys and review. And yeah, I hope you guys stay tuned. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and peace out.